Welcome to Hearts, Minds, and Families. We are simple moms having complex conversations. This is episode 2, and today's topic is connecting with your spouse. And last time I started, so I think I'll shoot it over to Shahnila. What did you think about when we presented this topic?
This is like my topic. I love this topic because this is the most important topic that moms could have, and as you know that marriage, it plays such a huge role in our own mindset, the way we come across to our kids and our life, and staying connected is huge. And there was a psychologist who once said that, think of marriage like a spaghetti noodle, and if it's going to break, unless you're holding it and you're nurturing it from the time you get married till the time somebody passes away. That it isn't till death do us part. That's not what it is in our culture, because you're not going to stay together. That's such a false statement, because you can always get divorced.
Yeah.
So in order to keep that nurturing going on, you really have to stay connected.
Shahnila, how long have you been married?
Oh my gosh, I should know, right? It's we got married. It's almost 20 years.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a really long time.
Iram, how long have you been married?
5 years shy of Shahnila, 15.
Wow. And Seema, how long have you been married?
13.
Wow. So I guess I'm the smallest. 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Inshallah. So we all have crossed the decade. She's
Yeah.
2 decades, but that's okay.
But I didn't have kids until like maybe 7 years after I got married.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot.
Did that time give you more connection with your husband? Where did you become more comfortable in the relationship by the time the children arrived in the relationship, in the family?
I don't know. At that time I thought I was ready after like 2 years. But when it was 6 years, then I look back, I'm like, you know what? This was the perfect time.
Alhamdulillah.
It was the perfect time for us.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
So I think it really depends on, I really strongly feel that Allah really knows when is the best time. I don't think I would have been the mother that I am if it was earlier, because I was very, very mainstream, in every way. So maybe I wouldn't have been as holistic in my approach,
mm-hmm.
and as mature. So I think
mainstream means
just mainstream, like what you see all around you, mostly, like homeschooling is not mainstream. Just kind of the typical, the very, very typical, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And not grounded in certain things,
Okay.
But, I always tell my husband that I tell him that, we have to have weekly date nights.
Oh, do you have weekly date nights though?
If we don't, and sometimes we don't, we'll slip. And then I'll be like, why do I have to be the one to be like, hey, we have to get back to our date nights?
Do you guys still do the weekly date nights?
Yeah.
Really? Where do you go?
It's been more important now, not every week. Sometimes we'll go a month without it. But I told him that you have to make an effort. Like because there was a time where he was working certain days and I was doing my own thing. And so I was growing, we were growing apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to a point where I told him, like, dude, do you know that I'd rather read a book than spend time with you? I'd rather do anything. Like it'd be more fun to me. It's kind of like, oh, I should spend time with you. It shouldn't be like that, but I feel that way.
Does a date night mean you guys go out and do something, or is it that you can be in?
Actually, we started doing it when we had kids. So, they were breastfeeding and they were waking up. So we would always do it in, so after the kids go to sleep. So whatever we want to do, but it's kind of like that's our time. And the months that we didn't have it because we were so busy with the kids,
Yeah.
then I could see that, we're kind of growing apart, or I'm doing my own thing. He's doing his own thing. We're both growing, but in different ways and different rates. So
Yeah.
he might be his, and that's one thing I didn't realize. I'm like, oh my gosh, when we get married, we both do want to grow, but you know what? He's going 10 miles an hour and I'm going, at another speed. And so
You can say it, Shahnila, 100 miles per hour. It's okay. You can say it.
at another speed.
We all know that rate.
So I was just like, we're not on the same page. And so now I always tell everybody, I'm like, okay, whatever you're learning, then you need to share it with your husband. And I think when my third child was born, we had an argument about something, and we never really argue. And I could see him that he was checked out. He was just like, okay, do whatever. And I could tell, I was like, okay, that's like a red flag because he's checked out.
Yeah.
And it was to do with our parenting styles, which can cause, a rift. And so then I realized, I'm like, you know what? And he said that, you made a decision that we were going to homeschool. You didn't come to me and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. And I realized that, moms, we all talk, and we might be like, we're talking to other moms and we're learning, but our husbands aren't. So when we present to him like, hey, what do you think about homeschooling? We already decided, And so then he was like, we should be like that all the time. And so his sources and my sources, they were really different. So I feel like coming together, and if we talked weekly at least, then I could share with him everything that I'm learning to kind of speed him up, And I think that makes a huge difference. How about you, Seema?
I agree with that. When we first started homeschooling, the difference here is, and I know it sounds cliche, but like he really is my best friend. We grew up together. So like I call him for everything. I text him about everything. And like he'll message me about funny things that happen at work. And we have these conversations all the time. So we did make the decision together, but homeschooling was one thing. And I didn't realize that I was doing the parenting thing on my own because you're reading, right? So I'm reading and I'm just absorbing this information. And so I start making these changes, not realizing that I'm not including him. So it does feel like he's always 3 or 4 steps behind. And so it takes intentional effort to realize, okay, I'm making a move forward. Now I have to like reach a hand out to him and say, okay, this is what's happening. This is what I've learned. This is what's going on. And let's move on together. And he's very busy. He works a lot of hours and stuff. So for a while I was like, well, you do the reading, you listen to this and you do that. And it's not always fair because he is at work a lot of hours during the week. And then on the weekend, he does a lot at home. He volunteers. That's his, love language. He does a lot. It's acts of service. He'll get up, he cleans the house. He does what needs to be done. We have a partnership in a lot of ways. And sorry, I lost my train of thought, but basically be intentional about communication. I know we had that conversation before and I was like, oh, just communicate. And not everybody has the ability to do that. So it's taking what you've learned and applying it, but then also being like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And I have the same approach with my kids this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. Let everybody understand what's going on, because that is a form of connection, of making sure everybody's on the same page. And I'm not just running rampant through the house, doing things and making changes and nobody knows what's happening at all. So there's that. What about you, Mariam?
Yeah, Seema and I think, had talked before about the weekly date night thing and how it just seemed unrealistic for us anyway to have a weekly date night. My sister-in-law recently got married, and during her ceremonies, the whoever was facilitating it, whatever the name is, the officiant, was like, oh yeah, make sure you do like weekly date night. And I was like, as he was saying it, I'm like, that's a very newlywed thing to like give advice, like, oh, just do weekly date nights. Because for us, that would never work, because my husband works at night during the week, and then I typically work on the weekends. And so there's not time for us to go out of the house pretty much and do the typical, like, go out to eat or whatever, pre corona, to do that. But how Shahnila was saying, it's mostly like quality time that you spend to be able to connect with them. And it doesn't have to be a designated, I mean, unless you feel like you need it, that you need to have the scheduled time. We are going to, have dinner together, or we're going to have breakfast. We're going to go and do this thing just by ourselves because we don't have any family that lives local to us, and so we can't like leave the kids. We can't mentally leave the kids with anybody else. It's just the kids and us. But like this morning, my husband, he came home from work and he made breakfast for everybody. And while I was eating breakfast, because the kids, they got up early because I don't know whose kids these are that they wake up super early, but they got up early, they had breakfast. And so my husband made me breakfast. And then as I was eating, he's like, okay, first thing I want to tell you is this, and he's like, number 2 is this and this and this and this. And number 3 is, and he like went down the list of all the things that he wanted to talk to me about. He wanted to, didn't even need my feedback on it, just to tell me about it. These are the things that he's been thinking about. He'll randomly send me thoughts and stuff. He's like, should I post this on Facebook? He posts random thoughts. Should I post this on Facebook? What do you think about him? He's a big troll, and he finds so much humor in it, just trolling people. So I don't know, he might troll all your posts. But I think that's similar to along the lines of what Shahnila was saying, that, you make the quality time to spend communicating with each other, because that connection is what is important. And I had a similar experience to Seema, where like I would read the books and then I'd be like, okay, we're going to start doing this. We're going to start, or I'd read like a curriculum or something. And I'm like, oh, this seems like the perfect thing. And I talk to like other moms about it. Like Shahnila was saying, like you talk to other moms and then they help to guide your decision, but then you're not really including your spouse in that decision too. And then they kind of just feel like you're taking control over it. And so I had to check myself. I'm like, well, you're right. Like I'm not actually including you. I need to talk to you and I need to present this information and get your feedback on it. What is your take? Because I don't know what your whole thoughts are on this topic unless I talk to you about it. Right. These are the things that the author, and of course, like with every book, you take some and you leave some. So these are the things that I took away from it. What do you think about it? I'm not going to make you read it because you don't have time to read it, but like, these are the things that they said. What is your perspective on it? How can we incorporate this idea into the way that we live our lives? And I think that's important because you're parenting together and you need to have that connection.
Yeah.
What about you, Iram? What do you do for connecting?
Oh my God. We tour the world. We go on vacations, which is true. I don't know why you people are laughing. It's true. No. So when we were living, when the children were younger babies, we did not go anywhere. And I used to think, my God, this is life. Ugh. Hated everything. I was very ungrateful, honest. And so I got married, expected the first child within 6 months, moved from one state to the other, did not know how to drive. My husband thought that was the best time to do his master's for some reason. So mashallah, from the first child to the second child, he was just busy. He was just extremely busy doing his master's. And it was not fun. And so, believe it or not, it took me good 7-8 years to get to the point where I would enjoy his company. I did not enjoy his company. I did not. Because most part of the day I was frustrated. And when he was home, I was still frustrated. I did not know. And it was only after the children became much older, they were able to go on long road trips. We were able to take them to places. We started enjoying each other's company. And it was after 10 years of our marriage that we actually, my mom had started living with us full time. She had retired from her job in UAE. She's a nurse by profession. And once she started living with us full time, after 10 years of our marriage, 10 or 11, that was the first time he and I, we went out, to watch a movie. Can you imagine? So it's an exaggeration. Like, come on, when you got married, from when you got married to until you got children, there's a period of 1.5 year. But still, that was a period of adjustment with the arranged marriage, with getting to know the person. You do certain things because that's the norm. Again, mainstream norm. Like I was into Bollywood movies. He was into Hollywood movies. He was into sports. He wanted to play cricket the whole weekend. I did not want to do it. That was not my thing. I remember, subhanAllah, I was a city girl. So, okay. So in UAE, and I was born, brought up there, and I was a city girl, and I did not know nature, as in, because UAE is a desert. So hiking was a new thing to me. And once he said, let's go hiking, and he was so hyped up about it. And he took me to a trail, and I was like, what is this? Like, I did not understand. And the second time he took me to a baseball game, and I said, what is this? So it took me there was a cultural difference too. Not that he was born, brought up here, but still there was still a cultural difference. So after that, after like 11 years of marriage, when we started going out on movies together, and then he got into and then he became a bit more daring, and he said, let's travel. I said, okay, fine, let's travel. So we went to New Zealand, and yeah, that, I think we had that was, for me, that was our honeymoon, really, seriously, because I remember my heart being so at peace with him, because, and I think the level of connection that happened from there onwards, alhamdulillah, I've enjoyed it since then. Actually, I enjoyed it so much that I said, why do we have kids? This is so much fun. Just being with you is so much fun.
Like, it's funny how that works though. So Samir and I, we will do like a night away, just like one night away, maybe 2 nights away, once or twice a year. But even just having that to look forward to really helps the year go forward. Like, just right now we were talking about like, okay, let's try to see if there's a safe way for us to get away. We went away to this unique little treehouse thing a couple months ago. And it's just so nice. It's so nice. You don't have to worry about the kids. I mean, we're fortunate that my in-laws live with us, so we can leave the kids with them, and that's very easy. We don't do it often, so that when we do it, I don't have to feel guilty about it. I feel like if I did it too often, I would just feel too guilty. But when we do,
and I think we lose the charm in it too. The guilt kicks in, and other people tell us that, okay, you're enjoying too much,
right?
Especially the children.
It's true. I feel guilty about that too, I think. But in general, the girls don't ever want me to leave. They always have a good time when I'm gone, but they don't ever want me to go. So I have that guilt. And I just, my in-laws, it's hard for them. There's 3 kids and they're all young and they require a lot of attention. So I don't like to do it for long. But one night, like, from one morning, one night, and then the whole next day. So it's like 2 full days though. It's so wonderful to just stroll and eat and hang out and sleep in and take a nap in the middle of the day, just whatever it is. It really is a boost for the relationship. And from there on, then you kind of, you work, and then when you feel a lull again, you can try to do something again. So even if you can't get away, just something that you both look forward to is so wonderful.
You know what? I'm having anxiety just thinking about that.
What?
I don't think I could. I don't think I could do that. Even if it was with my parents, I wouldn't. And I don't think my husband does either. Yeah. He doesn't feel comfortable. So what I would do first is go out with you guys.
Good plan. That's good.
I mean, the truth is, I'm most comfortable that way too. Like, when I go out with my friends and Samir's home with the kids, I'm most comfortable. Like, that's when I can fully, totally relax. Otherwise, I am calling and texting and checking in. And the first time we went away, it was really hard. But it's like, once you get that taste, then it's like, oh, this is great. I need to do this more often.
I remember after like 6 years, so we didn't go on date nights outside. We haven't, maybe once we have. But we were just so used to, with the kids being with us, that we were just like, okay, this is not fun. But after 5 years, we went to like a Starbucks, and we were just sitting there like, oh my gosh, like just sitting there, not talking. And then after 20 minutes, my dad called, and he's like, oh, he's crying. So we're like, okay. Then we both were like, okay, we'll be there.
It's funny. It's so funny. Like, how long it took to become comfortable in a relationship, and the phases are subhanallah. I mean, all of our lives are different in that sense, where we grew up, how the marriages happened, how much we knew of our husbands before we got married, what were our expectations, what were the communications, how good the communication, how strong it was. So apart from that, yes, I do connect with this idea that, binge watch TV, or come on, let's watch a movie. And I totally get it that if you saw an episode without me, that's cheating.
Yeah, it's something to share together. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part. I enjoy the comfort level that I have now, and I don't think that in okay, maybe it's my bias because I did not have it, so I think it that way. That I think the more the marriage gets older, the more fun you have with your partner.
It's
I think
possible. I mean, everybody has their own rhythm, and I think
Yeah.
in even the very best relationships, whether it be a day or a week or a month or years, do you go through phases where you don't like them that much, and then you have to, when you get to that point, though, you have to stop and be like, no, I chose this person for these reasons, and then intentionally work on fixing that and getting past it. So it's, some people, fall right into it and then they don't like their partner after so many years, and other people kind of have to push through the first few years, and then you get to that comfort level, and that's a wonderful.
I like the comfort level part. I'm not going to say I'm in love with my husband all the time. That's the biggest lie. Astaghfirullah. There are days when, mashallah, I imagine myself in orange jumpsuit and I'm like, Allah protect me. but the thing is, I love this comfort that when I have that emotion of being in that orange jumpsuit, I can easily tell him, like, you know what? You are in the danger zone. Make dua for yourself. and he's so comfortable that he recognizes how to calm me down. And I think for me, that is true connection, where I can be at my worst and show my worst and not be afraid that, what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to fall and he's going to hold me. Oh, when he's in a bad mood, then that's a different story. Then I say, okay, I'm doing my tahajjud salah in the other room. Yeah, so the comfort level, definitely, it's for me connection means to be very comfortable with all your flaws with your spouse.
I posted about this on my Instagram, and I asked people, I was like, what does connection mean? And somebody had said an understanding. So that would fall into that, just an understanding when you guys are able, again, to communicate, to talk to each other and have a basic understanding of what the other person wants. But one person responded and she said that she and her husband went to a sex therapist. It was somebody from the Muslim community. And I was like, oh, that's one, amazing that you guys took the initiative to go to one, because therapy in any form is great if you have an outset, to have that perspective. And then two, she was like, so one thing I want to share, she's like, and then, hopefully you can share it tonight. And it was skin to skin contact twice a week. So we talked about, all different kinds of connection, but this is a really important part. And she's like, whatever that means, it doesn't, there's a whole scale of what that could possibly mean, but twice a week, intentionally putting everything away and connecting physically. And she's like, that was huge for her relationship. And she's like, it's an important thing because in the community, people don't want to talk about the sexual part of the relationship, but that's a huge part of connection with your partner. And that's a huge part of, your comfortability with them, and how you communicate. Iram, what did you want to say?
No,
I'm curious.
I'm just like, my husband will watch it someday and then I don't know what's going to happen.
That's really important. This is so important, you guys.
Yeah.
I feel like the older we get, the more important it is.
Yeah.
And the better it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I think that it's so interesting in the Muslim community that we don't talk about it as married members of the Muslim community. We don't talk about sex at all. And when you're not married, then it's like, why are you even talking about, you shouldn't even be thinking about it because you're not married. And then once you get married, then still nobody talks about it. Nobody tells you anything. Nobody tells you if it's supposed to feel painful. Nobody tells you if this is normal, if that's normal. Nobody even tells you about childbirth stuff. Seema and I were talking about our
nobody tells you about childbirth. Yes.
Nobody talks about those things, and it ends up making you feel very isolated when you are feeling like there's a problem, and who am I going to talk to, because everybody feels uncomfortable about it.
Right.
And I really applaud whoever it was that not only went to the therapy session, but felt comfortable enough to share their takeaway from it.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, thank you. I'm like, I'm definitely going to bring it up. And I think that it's amazing that you feel open enough to share that, but it's because it's so important. And it's the one thing, like, we can talk about connection all night and avoid it if we wanted to.
Right.
It wouldn't be helpful.
I think that's a really important part.
Go ahead.
That's an important part of connection that has to be there.
Yes.
Like, there's some people who everything else may not be working, but that's good. So that's the string that holds it together.
Yeah.
It's a universal fact. The tensions are released once you have that connection. Why is marriage a blessed thing, and even having intimacy is considered as a form of ibadah? And alhamdulillah that we have cookie points for that, because for women it's not always that easy, and for men, mashallah, it's always very very comforting. For them it's their ice cream bucket. For us it's like
it doesn't have to be, but you know what?
It doesn't.
It doesn't always. It doesn't always. But we come with our emotions and our cycles, and the hormones that's happening inside of us. Sometimes it's not that we're doing it on purpose. It's not that women are trying to be lethargic or one not to have it on purpose. It's so many emotions that cater to it. Like, we are more comfortable and we enjoy it more when we have that emotional connection, when we are in love, right? Men are like, nothing is happening right in the life. Let's do it. Maybe everything will fall in its place.
That'll fix everything.
When we know our cycles, then we know that when in our cycles we want to do it more. It's like more like when you're ovulating. That's just the natural rhythm, and so I feel like we should take advantage of that.
Yeah, we do. I think we do.
And also, recently I heard that women who have goals and they're like high achievers, they have a higher sex drive. Or like they need the intimacy way more. Just so you know.
And this is funny to look back on, because you and I did the exact same head tilt at the exact same.
That's interesting.
It is. And one other thing we were talking about yesterday was the fact that in the community there is the idea that women never want to do anything, that it's always a chore, it's always a burden. And if that is the case, if that's the truth, then therapy would be wonderful. It's a way, because whatever is happening is just not working for you. And you need to figure out what can work for you. Because again, that connection can be so deep if you can move past it and learn how to talk about what you like, what you don't like, what's okay, what's not okay. And also be able to verbalize, like, you know what? I'm okay cuddling tonight. That's how I want to connect. I'm tired. I just don't want to, whatever the case is. Because when you feel forced to do it, and when you're feeling like, I don't really want to, but I guess I have to, or then it's like the opposite of connection, whatever that is. You know what I mean? It's just, it moves you further apart. It moves you further away. It feels bad.
It feels like an obligation.
Yeah.
Rather than a connection.
Exactly.
Majority of the time you get to hear that it's an obligation and I'm just doing it because you're overwhelmed, overworked, underappreciated, or that's what the story is going on in your head.
And you're not getting what you want.
Yeah. SubhanAllah. Okay. So we're not supposed to have intimacy before marriage. It's okay. It's a sin. Alhamdulillah it is. But then we're not even comfortable when we start doing it. It takes us years to get to a rhythm. Then when it gets to a rhythm, then we have children. Then we are bored to death because it becomes an obligation. Then there's no connection. Then we are so shy to try. Oh my God, we are in our 50s. When did I enjoy it?
I feel like that's true though. That's a common thing. That is,
is.
you know, it's like you don't take the time, but just like with anything else, and like what we're going to bring up again and again, I think over the weeks is talk to somebody, figure out how to get over whatever it is that's, you know, in your way, because all these things that are difficult emotionally and in your relationships can be moved through. You know, you can kind of work through it, and it's so beneficial to all of your relationships to put the focus where it needs to be. You know?
I think somebody mentioned like the love languages before.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was
Yeah,
here.
actually,
but,
Seema did.
yeah, so I think that is really important in that helps with it. But if you know your love language and if they know your love language, that makes a huge difference in that connection.
Yeah.
So even if it's not, you know, at certain times you're doing certain things, but on a daily or not even a daily basis, but more like a continuum basis where it's you have ups and downs, but you know each other. You know what the other person needs and you can give, you know.
Yeah. And I will say this too, I've heard in lots of talks and podcasts and things, men, while they don't like to necessarily be bossed around and told what to do, they need to know what you want. And whether we're talking about intimacy or whether we're talking about just general everyday relationships, like we talked about last week, the whole martyrdom and then resentment, if you can just verbalize, this is frustrating me. Can you please do this for me? Can we please work on this together? Can whatever it is, and it can be applied both to everyday, like whatever chores need to be done, and then also to the bedroom, to your intimacy. They appreciate that. They do, and like that they need that kind of direction because their brains just work differently than ours. So.
Yeah, I agree that, especially what Iram was saying about like it being like this. Like I think that's like what they want, because they just want that, and then you got to tell them like slow down, like no, this is not going to be a 2-minute thing. But it is to like to verbalize what your needs are and make sure that they know that those are your needs.
And to say too, if it is always an obligation, if it is always something you're having to be, you know, I don't want to say coerced because that sounds so much worse, but, you know, just kind of like talked into, then it's like they think they're doing you a favor by speeding it up. You know what I mean? They're just trying to, you know, whatever, then it's done because you're not interested.
That's true
so
too.
The whole process is just not fun because both the parties are overthinking the situation.
Yeah.
That's what I said. If we don't communicate, it's so funny. You give yourself wholly, completely to your partner, and still you're not comfortable telling what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems
Shahnila
silly when you
Shahnila
verbalize
does not agree, but the expression is.
You know what?
beautiful.
I tell my husband exactly. I'm like, you know what? I need 5 hugs a day. I need 5 touch points a day, especially now that with COVID. Put it on your phone. I don't care. I don't care if it's fake. I don't care. You know, put it on your phone that I need 5 hugs. And every time your alarm goes off, come down, find me and hug me or like, you know, be around me. Yeah. That's what I need. Yeah, and he's good. Like, okay, like, you know, he's more like, you know, I want it to be authentic. I want it to be like, just happens naturally. I'm just like, oh, I don't care. I don't care about that. Maybe you do. Maybe you want that and I'll do that with you. But with me, this is what I want. And you could, I don't mind even if you say, oh, it's 3:00, my alarm's here. It's time to hug my wife. And you go and hug me. I don't mind.
If anything, it's kind of cute and funny. And then it becomes your thing. So.
Right. It's like fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because with me, it's maybe my love language is touch. So, you know, it isn't anything else. And with him, it's act of service. So, you know, he's probably thinking, okay, I'll do her a favor and do that. But it's like, you know, yeah, you kind of cleaned up after dinner and everything, but that really didn't mean anything to me if you didn't, if you didn't hug me.
Yeah, I have a joke here. It's not a good one, but no, I don't care. Okay, so acts of service. What if a husband or a wife says, these are my love languages? Number 1, touch. So we need to do it. Acts of service. Doing it with me is an act of service. Please do it. Gift. It is a gift to me. Please do it. And what is the fourth one?
What is those? Gifting and affirmations.
Do it and tell me you're liking it. Okay, enjoy it.
Tell me you're liking it.
So yeah, we have
You know
all
what? I
ages,
think all
but-
men are different. I don't know if
Yeah.
maybe majority of them are like that. But I remember when I had my second daughter, my second child, and it was really difficult with, like, they were getting up at night. And
Yeah.
so my husband was just being super considerate, So
Yeah.
he wasn't like, he was like, okay, go to sleep. I know you're tired. And I approached him, I'm like, are you okay? Like, what am I, do you not love me anymore? I'm just like, you're not even like being responsive, or, and he's just like, I was just trying to be considerate because I know you're tired.
Oh,
we don't let them live
Yes.
the time, right?
Like, but don't you have needs? And he's just like, yeah, but I was being considerate. And so you want me to be a jerk? And I'm like, no,
Good
I
man,
don't,
mashallah,
I guess not.
tabarakallah.
But I'm just like,
Yeah.
if I was a husband, I would probably be like, you know what? I know you're busy throughout the day. But when I come home at 5, have the house clean and look nice for me and have dinner ready. And he was like, that's what you want me to do? And I was just like, and at that point I was like, maybe that's what I want him to do. But you know what? After years and years later, then I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm so glad he didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, so you want me to be a jerk? I'm like, no, but do I? Because I guess that's the expectation that I had, that guys
Yeah.
are supposed to be like. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why don't you fit that mold?
Yeah.
You should just be like, well, I want to, and I don't, and I should just meet your needs. But here you are saying, I won't because I know that you're tired.
Yeah.
So I should appreciate that.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely,
Because
mashallah. Alhamdulillah. What about gifts? Giving gifts. Do they like it? Do they don't like it?
well, as far as like communication, I guess it depends on the person's love language too.
Mhm.
Like I am not a gift person. Samir does love to give gifts.
Does
But
he
I
give good gifts though?
I am talking to you on one of my recent gifts. He does. He's very thoughtful with his gifts, and he always goes for what I need because that's what I like. I'm not a big jewelry person, so I'm not a great gift acceptor because I rather quality time and I rather, save the money and go on a trip and stuff. But it's very thoughtful, and it's always nice that he's thinking of me when he's out. But on the other hand, I'm not a very good gift giver because I don't consider that. But instead, I'll plan a weekend away or something like that. So I guess it just depends on the person.
Nice.
that's true.
How
My
about you, Mariam?
husband is not. I buy him gifts all the time, and he doesn't. I don't want to say he doesn't appreciate it, but because I'll get him things that I know that he likes and that he's talked about. I wish that they had this, and I would like go and like find whatever it is. Or like he had a favorite pair of Nikes that were like getting worn down, and I went and I found him another pair that was exactly like it, slightly different color. So it's not exactly the same, his size, and then he never wore it. He was like, "Oh my God, thank you," and then he just never wore it, and I'm like, "What? What is the point of this?"
So did he tell you why
prefer?
he never wore them?
Yeah. What do you think he would prefer instead of a gift? What would
I
be
asked him, I was
another-
like, do you not like it? He was like, "No, I do. I just don't want to mess them up." And I'm like, "But I got them for you to mess up." Like that's what shoes are for. Because him and I were both not like those people that are like sneakerheads that will just like collect shoes. Like if we're gonna get it, we're gonna make sure it's good quality and we're gonna wear it till they're done. And so I'm like, I don't understand. I'm not. There's like a miscommunication here. What's happening? How come you're not wearing the gift that I got you that I know that you want?
No, I love gifts. I do. And I really wanted a husband who could give me good gifts, you guys. But I even told him that, yeah, I want a gift. And then he would go out and buy me something. And I was just like, at one time he bought me a bracelet. And when I opened it, I started laughing because I thought it was a practical joke.
No. Oh no.
I was like, really? Like, I really thought that you were making like a joke out of this. And he was like, see, that's why I think you should go get it yourself. So we just have very different taste.
Mm.
So after that, I was like, okay, forget it.
Yeah, my husband will buy me like food things that he knows that I like. And then if it's bigger things, he will just be like, pick what you like, and then I'll pay for it.
That's nice. That's
And so
safe.
like I got this microphone and he's like, here's $200. Get what you need. Get what you need.
And
then
you know too though, like I don't work. So when I'm gonna buy Samir a gift, he can see that I paid for it before he receives the gift anyway. So it's like I feel like it's so pointless. And I don't often think about it. I don't know. I feel a little terrible about that right now.
But then now, like in hindsight, I think I'm like, I'm glad that he's like that and I'm like that, because it's such a maybe an extra added burden of like getting things,
Yeah.
right? And then having that expectation,
right.
like, well, every anniversary or every whatever that we celebrate, we have to exchange gifts.
Yeah.
So he'll usually get me things that I need, like in the kitchen
Yeah.
or something, but or something that I ask for. But even then, I'm like, I really I wanted a specific kind of blender, to make smoothies, and he got another kind, and I was just like, but I wanted the, So, but then I didn't say that. I was like, you know what? Just be grateful that you have this.
I can definitely relate to that. Yeah.
I'm just like, man,
I think that's why
yeah.
that's why I feel like I'm not a great gift getter, because like I'll just research whatever it is that I want. I like researching. I'm like, this specific one has these qualities that I like, and this is the one I want. And then if somebody else gets me something else, I'm like, I'm never going to use this. What am I going to? And it's so ungrateful. It's super ungrateful. Astaghfirullah. It's super ungrateful. But like, that is my thought. Like, I'm never going to use this. This is not as good as the one that I would have gotten for myself.
You guys, twice Samir bought me earrings and I lost one of the earrings within the first week, and two separate occasions, two separate anniversaries.
Oh no.
I lost one of the earrings within a week. He has not bought me earrings since. But I was like, this is why I'm such a tomboy. I'm so rough with everything. I'm always breaking things and I'm always messing up my clothes. Jewelry is just not meant for me. I'm always breaking it.
Yeah, I feel the same about jewelry too. Like my wedding ring is like the most that I have. And then even the engagement part, like half the time it's like on the side of the sink somewhere because it just is in the way.
I broke my wedding ring.
How?
Broke her wedding ring. How do you break a wedding ring?
It's supposed to be a circle so that it lasts forever.
The stone, I was giving the girls, I'm so rough and I'm always just bumping into things. I went to reach for something and I just miscalculated the space and slammed my hand into the wall and the stone just broke off.
Oh no.
And I just haven't gotten it fixed. And this was what, like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely learned his lesson.
Because before I got married, or when I was younger, I would always, in those magazines that you get and it has like a jewelry section or any kind of magazine, I would always go there and like I would sit down and I would circle the ones that I like. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna, I love diamonds and I just can't wait to get them all the time. But yeah, like you said, it's like now it's like, where is that? It's like, oh yeah.
I think it's the idea of it that we like the idea of being a person that wears these like nice fancy things, but then in reality we're like engaged with our kids and we're doing these things and we don't want to have those things in the way. I don't know, that's how I feel about it. And also, it just gets in the way.
And materialistic things that doesn't really when you get it, then it's like, oh, you feel that sense of connection and love, but that's so temporary. Then after 5 minutes, after 10 minutes, then what? Then you're left with each other.
Yeah.
I would literally feel the same way if you got me a cookie.
Right. Yes.
I feel the exact same appreciation and enjoyment.
We do.
You just brought me a nice warm cookie.
We do feel that. We like it. Making us a cup of tea is such a nice gesture. Rubbing feet, doing something, that's intimate, that House of Films TV says this resonates a lot. We are not big on gifts, though I have a cheat list of food and candy to get my it's a brother, and he says to get my wife every now and then. Okay, mashallah.
That's good. Nice.
That's good.
That's a great idea.
So
That's really thoughtful too, because it's putting forth the effort to try to meet the needs that she has,
Mhm.
whatever it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, that's really
at the
thoughtful.
end, that's all that matters.
Mhm.
Like every time he goes for grocery, he sneaks in a candy bar for me. This is for you. The kids just hide it.
And
He
that's
knows
so
what my
nice.
favorite soda is, so he's like, I got that for you. It's in the fridge.
Oh,
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
And it's those
it is.
little,
Yeah. Go ahead, Seema. Sorry.
no, that's okay. I was just saying it's the little things because the gesture is really the most important part. When we get the jewelry, even it's like, oh, you thought of me. You were thinking about what I would
Right.
like. So truly, if you bring home my favorite candy or a cookie or anything, he writes me little notes and leaves them in places sometimes. And it's like, that's what makes me happy. So I don't care what it is. I just, to know that you're thinking about me is nice.
Right. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And that reminds me of like, I used to do that a lot before I had kids. So we found a box and it had all the different notes and letters that I wrote. And I was taking them out and I was cracking up. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said this. That was so cheesy. And he was just like, oh, do you feel the same way? I'm like, now we're going to recycle. I'm going to give you the same ones. and
I
some
can
of them I
remember.
did feel the same way, you know, and others I didn't. But that's just part of like, you know,
Growing up.
getting old together. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we started a thing. I was writing the girls notes every once in a while. So when they wake up, they have a nice little note and that talks about, you know, I think that you're wonderful and, you know, smart and all this stuff, like some nice morning affirmations. So then after I did that for a while, I was like, I should start doing that for him. So now we got a notebook and just like randomly we'll write a note in the notebook and just leave it on the other
Aw.
person's pillow. So like either when he comes home from work or when I wake up in the morning or something, it's just kind of there. We don't do it often, but that makes it almost better because it's total surprise when it happens. And so
Yeah.
it was a nice thing that we added. So that was a nice form of connection, I think, that people can kind of.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I used to do all of those things and I had so much. And then I feel like after the kids, I really don't have time or a desire to even do those, you know, because our priorities are shit, both of ours. So that's why the date night, the weekly date night, is more like spending quality time together, whether we're playing games or whatever we're doing, watching something. That everything was replaced with that.
Yeah.
And so having that weekly, we're like, okay, this week I have to put this in. And he's like, you know, I don't like everything scheduled. And one time we saw this movie and the two really busy couples, they're like, okay, what are you doing that day? It's like, okay, it'll be our date night. What time? Okay, 7 to 10. That'll be the time that it's our time. Put that on your schedule. Oh, Wednesday works. And he was like, I never want to be like that. I'm like, you know what? At least that's better than nothing.
It's true. Yeah.
It is true. I do
Because
kind of, I feel that, sorry, Erin, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel weird about scheduling things also, because I think it's my anxiety a little bit. Anything that's scheduled gets into the rotation of things running through my mind, and then it becomes just something else on the list. So we've had that conversation because he will plan a date night or something. And I'm like, you know, I love them. Don't tell me about them. Like make it a surprise or tell me that same day or something. Because when I know beforehand, it adds to the list and it's like, okay, Monday this, Tuesday this, Wednesday date night. And because I'm constantly thinking about it, it ends up being a chore. So for me, I can't schedule it because it doesn't work. It doesn't make me feel like I enjoy it as much. It becomes something I start to dread after a while, just knowing that it's there.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's the opposite. But I feel like that just goes to show that how we really have to do what works for us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Whatever that
different
connection
personalities and
Yeah.
the thought process behind what.
Whenever we just do what works for that couple.
Yeah.
As long as it meets that end desired goal of staying, you know, on the same page.
And the only way to do that is to talk about it and to say just very frankly, you know, like, this is what I like. What do you like? How can we combine our two ideas of what needs to get done?
And I feel like there's certain things that we discover about ourselves after years and years, right? And maybe certain ways that we grow, we're like, oh my God, I never knew I was like this.
Yeah.
And then I feel like sometimes we realize that about our spouse, like, wow, I never realized all these years that you were like this.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember after like 5 years of marriage, I took like friends or like I think my cousins to this premarital not counseling, but a workshop. And so I went with them, and they were talking about what to, look for in a spouse and all these kinds of things. And I was like, after that, I was like, man, darn, I should have taken this course, but it was a blessing that I didn't. And because the thing is that Allah really knows what you really need, not what you want, but what you need. And it's there to complement you. And I think these date nights, for me, those things I'm reminded of those things, what connected us, and to get back on the same page.
Dad jokes connect us.
And if that works for you, then that works for you. Somebody else
It really works for me. Like I laugh. My son, he's like, Mama, how can you laugh on his jokes? Or they aren't even funny. I love his jokes. It really makes me laugh. I love it. He's like, you have a bias. You just like him and you just want to make him feel, you just want to boost his ego, Mama. Okay. He's getting old. His jokes are old. And you just, like, shut up. You're under his roof. Shut up. Yeah. But laughter connects us. We don't talk too much because he gets bored of me talking and I don't have the patience to listen to him. So
that's a tough combination.
Yeah. So he makes jokes and I laugh, and he likes to see me laugh. He tells me that. He says, you know what? I feel happy when I see you laugh. And yeah, that's our connection. That's
really nice.
No, not much talking. Talking leads me to trouble all the time. So yeah.
I can definitely relate to that though. When my husband and I, cause like, during the week he works nights, so then he'll go to sleep after we have breakfast, he'll go to sleep. And so we don't have each other added on Instagram. We've never had each other added. We have each other added on Facebook, but that's it. And so we will save different things that we find funny on Instagram. And then when we're together, we'll just go down our save list. I'm like, okay, look at this one. Okay, look at this one. All right, look at this one. And then we'll just like laugh. Or if it's something like that is like thought provoking, then we'll talk about like what we think about it or whatever it is. But instead of like just sharing it that way, we will spend a few minutes just talking to each other about the things. And then the kids are always like, can I see? And we're like, no, these are grown-up things. No.
That's true. SubhanAllah. When he sends me jokes that are like mature, then he's like, make sure no kid is around. First it comes, make sure no kid is around. And then the joke comes. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. So I think we covered, mashallah, good.
Seema, did you want to share a couple more or whatever else people shared?
One thing somebody had said was like finding common interests. So like she said, for her and her husband recently took up playing volleyball together. So they got to learn about it, or he really liked volleyball and she joined him. So one thing I had seen, there was a trend on TikTok recently, and it was going to your partner and asking them to teach you their favorite thing. And it's so heartwarming to see the reactions. Like somebody asked their partner, he was really into like those Pokemon cards or whatever. And she was recording. She's like, hey, will you teach me how to play Pokemon? The guy was like in mid stride, turned around, ran to get his cards and came back to teach her. And it's like, we don't realize that there's so many things that we could connect on and we just kind of move past them because we're not really interested. But if we can intentionally take a moment to become interested, that's a whole new world of connection. So it could be something that they're interested in, or maybe taking on something brand new, having new experiences and things that you can come back and talk about and be excited about. So those are a couple of things that I was talking to friends about yesterday. That's my favorite. I love it.
Yeah. I have a funny story about new experience. So my husband and I, last year, we went to Spain and we were in Granada, and there are natural spring waters there. And the mud is supposedly very therapeutic and people rub the mud all over. Now, please keep this in mind. This is Spain. And people go there, and I had no idea, and my husband had no idea. Now, I am in my burkini. People just stripped off. My husband is trying to cover my eyes. He did not want me to see naked men. I'm like, you're afraid I'll see naked men. There are naked women all around. Like,
Oh, hilarious.
it was hilarious. It was hilarious. He was like, don't look there and don't look there. And like,
And now it's an experience you can laugh about together.
yeah. And then we left. We just got up and we left. We left, like we went far a bit and we just enjoyed the views, and it was sunset time, and by the time it was dark, everybody was back getting ready to go back, because we were in a group, right? So it was not like we could leave, and it was outskirts, in the outskirts, so we did not have a car or anything. Otherwise he would have just like within a second said, let's get into the car, let's run. But no, we had to stay there and enjoy the whole show. Mashallah. Oh,
Yeah. What do you think, Shahnila? Do you have
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to?
Yeah, I want to just I like to change things up, and I like to like do different things. So I want to incorporate some of these in our date nights, and just like spice things up, because
See what works and see what doesn't work.
Jazakallah khair to everybody who joined in. I hope you enjoyed our stories. I hope you connected with them. And like I said in my posts earlier, we would love for you to give us feedback. We would love for you to tell us what you want to hear us talk about. I did not know, Seema, that you had already done that. So mashallah, tabarakallah. That's awesome. Because if you wouldn't have done that, then whole topic of intimacy wouldn't have,
Right.
come up. SubhanAllah. And I just like seeing their faces. So, I want you all to tell us to do it more often so that I can see their faces more often. Thank you so much for joining in. We are looking forward to our and the next one, which will be in 2 weeks, inshallah.
Yes.
Okay.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
All right.
All
Good
right.
night.
Assalamu alaikum.